Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. This is the debut of the Five Reasons College Football Show, collaboration between Five Reasons Sports, the Six Rings Canes, Swamp Chats, and everybody else. The only ones that matter, I guess. Joined here by my good friend Manny Chang, who finally decides to show his face on camera. Appreciate the love, man. It's about time you come on, and of course. The myth, the man, the legend, the great Larry Blustein. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. Start of the season. How long do we look forward to this, Manny? Since that Cheetos Bowl?
Cheetos Bowl, man. For like 1 second, I'm just trying to figure out if what are the new bowl names coming out, right? Because as soon as the season ends, it's like, well, 5 new bowl names come out, and it's like, well, all we're missing is Pledge. What else are we missing?
For you, the banana bowl,
the vineyard,
the banana bowl.
But I have to admit, I'm extremely excited to see the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I think it's, I am not a Canes fan whatsoever, but I think it's time to see all this talking that Coach Manny Diaz has done. And listen, he's done great in recruiting, but one thing is doing great in recruiting and just sucking on the field. And I think you guys can definitely agree with that.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, anybody can do a lot of talking, but at the end of the day, that's what's always been missing here. I think Blue can kind of echo the sentiment is the development of those recruiting classes that come in, right? You get some of those 5-star guys and those big time wide receivers and 4-star guys and the local kids, and we've seen that the thing that's been lacking is the development. And I think that Blue, I want to touch on this before we start breaking down the preview of Canes and Bama. Really quick here. I think they got the right guys in place now on the staff that can start developing these kids, right?
Yeah. No. Well, you probably hit it right on. I hope you said that loud enough where the Cane fans can hear that. Start developing. Okay. So this team is not here. This is not. You put us in front of this situation 2 years from now. We're talking an entirely different tune.
Unless you beat Alabama, then you're not going to be able to stand any Kings fan. We're going to be the most.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I will never come on this show.
Don't do that to me, Blue. Don't do that to me, Blue.
It defies all the same. Well, I'm just saying, what you said was spot on, because what they hired over the last 2 years is a staff that you win and compete for national championships with. Look at everybody in place. You have a Lashley who's a big time guy, smart guy who, and I know everybody has him leaving. Oh, he's going to get that first college job. Well, if it's a high level job that he wants, that's what this is all about. But while he's here, everybody on that staff and from Likens at wide receivers and Hickson at the running backs and in Fields and the whole gang and also the offensive line, they're all drinking in what he's teaching, his philosophies, the way he thinks, the way like it's a 3rd and 6 and most times you'd probably do this play, he does something else. So that's what you do, you learn, and it happens everywhere. And you know what, I think they're in probably the best hands offensively than they've been in a long time. It's a really good offense with a dynamic quarterback, much improved offensive lines, receivers who can make plays and who will be required to, because you have a guy who comes from Oklahoma and Rambo who will elevate the play of everybody, Pope included. You're going to get more out of Harley. You're going to get a lot out of Restrepo. You've got a lot of other kids. And, we talk about some of the younger kids. Well, that's a position that really doesn't need an infusion of younger kids. They have their people. They have the tight ends. And like I said, with Garen Justice up front, he's revamped it to the point where you have a guy predicted to go in the first round of this next year's NFL draft. So look how far you've come from that Pittsburgh game where Alex Dono and I were breaking it down. And every play we would watch the offensive line guys be pushed all the way back into Cam Harris. So you know what? When Cam Harris got the ball, he had to fight like heck just to get back to his own line of scrimmage. So there's a big difference. And obviously, against Alabama, it's going to be a chore, but I think this offensive line has come further than any other position on the team.
I think there's also a little of foreshadowing there with Coach Likens being named the passing game coordinator, which kind of says a lot as well. I think that if, like you said, Blue, if Lashley leaves, I think he might be the next guy in line. And listen, it's not a bad idea because he's a hell of a coach. But let's move on. Obviously, the big game. Some will say the biggest game of the year. I don't think it is. I just think it's an exciting game. It's something that we've been looking forward to, seeing Miami play, Alabama and the number one team in the country again, the defending national champs. Look, let's start off with this, right? Bama. We can say as much as we want how Bama has lost most of their offense, right? They're returning most of their defense, so they're definitely going to have one of the top defenses in the country, if not the best defense in the country. And they are, replacing a couple guys on the offensive line. Obviously, most importantly, they're replacing their quarterback, they're replacing their running back, and two or three of their receivers, right? Billingsley is not even number one on the depth chart at tight end this year either. So a lot of things have changed, but we know that with Alabama, a lot of things change, but a lot of things stay the same, right? So they're still going to be dynamic. They're still going to be athletic. They're still going to be strong. They're going to have the biggest offensive line that we're going to face. They're going to have the biggest defensive line we're going to face, right? Most of their guys on the line, and I think someone interviewed Manny Diaz about this recently, and this was, the quote was not verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, how do you feel about, being so overmatched as far as size is concerned in the trenches, right? With your defensive line and their offensive line. And his answer was, well, we're fast and we're athletic, right? And that's how Miami got their name, right? By being a fast and athletic team, not necessarily the biggest team. Yes, I agree to a certain extent, but at the same time, you're still replacing Rousseau and Roche and Phillips, and that's going to be tough. So talk to me. I want to get both of your takes on this because, look, Manny, you come from you're a fan of the SEC, right? You got an SEC football team. You know what it is to play with size, right? If you guys kind of want to elaborate on that first, the size difference or the matchup difference between, and let's start off first with the offensive line from Alabama and the defensive line for the Miami Hurricanes. What's going to be, since we're more of a Cane, we're more Canes oriented. Yeah. What's it going to take for the Canes to be successful at the line of scrimmage?
Well, in all honesty, when you kind of look at the Alabama Tide, or I hate to say their full name because now I'm not really a fan of theirs. Listen, we know
Manny kills me. I'll tell you.
We kind of know what Nick Saban is already, but the question is, who are going to be his players? And I think if Miami ever had an opportunity to jump on them early, the Kings coming back. The offense is already set. Bama is returning defensive starters, but obviously, listen, in college football, there's no preseason. So you really don't know the adjustments that could happen. You really don't know what things can actually occur until they happen once. Then once you're on the sidelines, now the coaching begins. Now it becomes now adjustments begin because now you're on tape. You've seen it once in a couple of series. SEC football, man, it's about trenches. It's about in the fourth quarter what side of the ball is going to actually dominate you for that extra second, right? Because, give credit to Kentucky, give credit to Vanderbilt. I know those teams aren't huge names in a lot of people's households whenever they play. But listen, they've had to adjust immensely to try to get as many big boys as they can. And to me personally, the SEC has always been those, how do you control the line of scrimmage in the fourth quarter? It's very easy for all of us to say, NFL, NCAA ball. Both sides of the lines are extremely important. But to me in the SEC, if you're able to just be, just manhandle your guys for a good part of the game, and at some point the wear and tear happens. And this is when I see that I look at Miami and I see them having a little bit more speed than Alabama. But Alabama, to me, though, has that coaching, right? And where that 1 second where Miami can run for an extra yard, by the third, fourth quarter, Nick Saban already is drawing up. Okay, instead of you going at it, you're going to skip a step and make up for the half second slow that you are. And you're going to counter that Miami is so good in speed. And that's the thing that with Nick Saban is always done is how can Miami adjust depending on what the score is or how early they're down? And I apologize for my French. Apparently she's barking at something. How is Miami going to contain an all-around SEC football team for 60 minutes. Okay. And this is when I kind of already said it. If Miami had any opportunities to jump on Alabama, it has to be the first moment you get the football. Go down the field, gain some type of confidence, make Nick Saban get upset, make him throw his hat or his shirt or his vest or whatever, because at some point his offense is going to get rolling, man. I mean, these guys just get wide receiver after wide receiver, and who cares who's at quarterback? By the third, fourth quarter, they'll figure it out. Okay, their 3-and-outs, their punts, and their field goals in the first half, they're going to become touchdowns in the second half. Well, so what type of momentum can Miami have? And this is when I think we're going to see how King has, how is his knee? What type of approach does Miami have? Because to me, the approach cannot be let's sit down and wait and see what happens. It has to be let's go out all out fast. Okay, because this is a game where you're going to see by the end of 60 minutes, where is it that you stand against top level competition, against the defending champions.
Well, look, so Blue, just kind of, piggybacking off of that, right? It's the battle. It's in the trenches, and we know that. Okay, so you've got Alabama's offensive line, right? You've got Evan Neal, 6'7", 350 pounds as the left tackle.
Okeechobee, Florida.
He's a stud, right? IMG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
you've got Ekior, I think is his other name, the guard. That's a big dude as well. But I look at the numbers, and if I'm going apples to apples, listen, the size of our offensive line is very similar to the size of the offensive line for Alabama. If you want to match up weight for weight, maybe not position by position, because Evan Neal is their biggest guy, 6'7", 350. Navon Donaldson is 6'6", 350. Okay, you've got Corey Gaynor is 308 pounds. He's 6'3", 308. Then you've got DJ Scaife on the other side, who's 305 pounds, I believe, and you've got Zion Nelson, who I can't believe is 316 pounds. So I mean, and you're talking about Alabama's offensive line is averaging right around that same that same weight. So the biggest difference to me is the opposite, is the defensive lines, where Miami's interior is big, but their outside guys are 250, 260. I think DeAndre Johnson. So whereas that's where Bama's defensive line, you're talking about some big boys. I know they run a 3-4, so it's a little bit of a different scheme, but you're talking about some bigger guys. Their linebackers are 240, 250 as well, still have that speed. So what's it going to take, Blue, for them to win not only the battle up front, but just to be able to hang with them in the fourth quarter to even make it a close game?
Yeah, you brought up several interesting points, because we know here that Miami is built for a lot more of the North Carolina State games of the 47-44 variety than they are for the 42-7 variety. I mean, it's just the way it is. Their defensive front seven is not deep. There's missing parts in the front line right away. I mean, you haven't. You need 2-3 linebackers to really make a difference against Alabama, because their offensive line is going to neutralize Miami's defensive interior. It's just the way it is. It is, and that's the way it's been for so many years, 15 to 17 years at Alabama, or any SEC school, LSU, Texas A&M. Look at where they do. They build their fortress. They build their offense and defensive lines, and then they throw some pretty decent people behind there who develop. And that's what's happened. And to me, you have a battle. I think Miami is a better opportunity to score, but they're going to have to keep the pace, and it's going to be awfully tough, because the defense is just, listen, you can talk about Bryce Ramsey and you can talk about all those guys that didn't play, quote unquote, last year. But remember, Alabama in 3/4 of their games during the regular season were up by 48 to 50 points. So these guys saw a lot of extensive action against some first teamers from other places early on in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So they've got experience. And, I'm tired of hearing that every year Alabama's going to do this, and there'll never be a Tua, and there'll never be this guy, and there'll never be, and there are. It's just amazing what happens when you're well coached and your recruit as good as anybody in the country. And the only way Miami needs to approach this game is you play your best. You don't give up the ball, because Lord knows Alabama doesn't need your charity. Okay, so You've got to make every drive count defensively. You know what? Stay up. You know, if you get beat in the secondary because the defense is not getting the front is not getting any penetration, don't get crazy. Don't commit 15-yard penalties at a record clip, because sooner or later Alabama's going to be scoring at you at will, and you don't want that. You have to control the game, and it all starts on offense, because I don't think the defense has that experience and leadership to do what the offense can do. So it's all up to King. It's all up to those guys on the offensive side who have a lot more game experience than most of the guys on defense.
Right. Yeah. No. You bring up a great point. I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the biggest thing. So I think that, look, for me, my thing is it's all up to De'Aaron King on the offensive side of the ball, right? You need to, and Manny brought this up earlier. He said you got to start off. You got to hit him hard. You got to punch him in the mouth early and often, and you got to try to. If you can build a lead, great. If you can't build a lead, you got to at least, you know, stay in there and do the best that you can and score as many points as you can early before they start to figure it out, because you know that defense is going to figure it out. And then, like you said, Manny, on offense, you know, Bryce Young and Brian Robinson and the bunch of Mechie and all of them are going to get it going eventually. So at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be important for them to start off and be able to hang with them and punch them a little bit in the mouth and score some points early on. And see if then maybe, you know, the game plan changes and they have to make adjustments that maybe they don't want to make. And look, at the end, and look, for me, it's I know that these guys have gotten playing time and snaps last year, but this is a new season, like Manny said, and Bryce Young coming in, you know, and having to start off right away against, you know, the Miami Hurricanes, it's going to be tough for him as well. So he's going to have to make adjustments, and can he make those adjustments to be successful? If we could turn the ball over, if we can get some turnovers, that would be great. So I kind of what I wanted to do now was talk a little bit before we kind of, you know, get rolling with college football as a whole, because we've got a slate of games that are really good this weekend, even starting off on Thursday. Position by position, we've seen this online, we've seen this on Instagram and Twitter a lot, how they're kind of, grading each position by position. And I really want to start off and ask both of you guys this question. I got into it with Jock earlier today, him telling me that Bryce Young was better than De'Aaron King, and right now I don't think he is. Could he be possibly down the line? Yeah, I'm sure he could. He's a Heisman hopeful and all that. But right now, I think De'Aaron King has the edge and he has the upper hand because of his experience, because he's been in bigger games before, because he's played so much more. And I just think he's a very talented kid. And Blue, I know that you like De'Aaron King a lot too. You know, I want to talk. What do you guys think? Who has the edge at quarterback? Just plain and simple, just at the quarterback position. Is it King or Young?
Oh, if you're asking me, I think that Miami has the experience because they have more people surrounding him coming back, you know, that he's familiar with. Bryce, really, like you said, he didn't start. It was Mac Jones. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, Miami's got the advantage, and plus the 4 years of experience that he has over Bryce Young. Bryce was there 1 year last year, but remember, I think that this would have been 5 years. This is 5 years, I believe, for De'Aaron in college. So he's got 4 years of experience at hanging out at some pretty good places in Miami and also in Houston with the really good offensive minds that were there. So advantage, I think, goes to them and his experience. And when he walks out on that field, you know, he's been there before. Bryce Young's never been in a situation. I'm sure he's heard that sound when he came out last year for all the big games, but he was never a focal point like he is now.
Manny, this is De'Aaron King's first time that he's been in the same offensive system for more than 1 year, right? This is his first time that he's been in an offensive system, you know, with Rhett Lashley for 2 years in a row. I think that plays, you know, a big deal in what he's going to do.
Absolutely.
Bryce Young, this is the first year with who's it? Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
So his first, I know he's a great, you know, NFL guy and all that. So who do you think has the upper hand there at that position?
I'm going to say King because to me, I'm always going to take experience over talent. But again, this goes back to what I said at the beginning. Miami has to start off with a mentality of we need to be up. At all times in the first half, we need to be up. Because at some point, after every series, after every talk with Nick Saban on the sideline, after every talk with Bill O'Brien and the iPads come out and all this stuff happens, it's just a benefit of being able to be coached by a staff like Alabama and knowing that the players that are on that team are just, no offense, and no offense to nobody, they're better than everybody in the whole damn country. So again, I'm gonna give it to King with experience. Same offense, same type of mentality of what they have to do to get it done, but they have to come out in the first half guns blazing, convert on third down. And one thing that I think that all Canes fans have noticed when it comes to big games, you might start off well, but then guess what ends up happening? And Blue called it: penalties, misplays, missed tackles,
the bright lights get you.
All of a sudden, just that, once that adrenaline drains out, it just seems like you kind of forget the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are the things that you've been practicing all summer long.
You got to keep it.
Remember those 2 a day? No, you have to approach it as knowing this is a 60-minute game. This is not a 15-minute game, especially with Nick Saban. Because after every single play, he's going to be already looking at, well, how can we get better? Oh, we gave up a yard. That's unacceptable. We need to make sure we go out there and we make negative yardage. Manny Diaz has to go out there with a light under his ass and be like, guys, we need to forget the cameras, forget the lights. We've lost to FIU. We've lost so many games. And then in reality, it's just, as a Canes fan who's living this, and can just, again, they're going to go back to the 2000s, and I get it. It's one of the most greatest teams I've ever seen personally. But just to see how that's been up to 20, 21 years down the line, man, you can't be losing the Louisiana, La Tech and things like that. So this is a game where Manny Diaz has to come to it and realize, listen, if we lose, we lose. But we're going to lose with everything we have. And we're not going to lose for stupid things. Penalties and all these other things cannot occur. But again, to me, King has the advantage. He has the experience. He's been in these positions. The other player has not. But the other player is freaking 5 stars surrounding him. And this is where King, if he has a game of his life like he did against NC State, Miami has a shot. But they have to score and put points up on the board before Alabama figures this out.
Look, Miami has those guys around Thierry King also. Let's not get it twisted. Will Mallory is a big-time guy.
Catch the football.
Potential first-rounder is Will Mallory. Charleston Rambo coming from the Big 10 or the Big 12, wherever Oklahoma is, Big 12, whatever it is. Mike Harley, big-time guy coming out of high school as well from St. Thomas. Keyshawn Smith is probably the lesser of all of them because he's a 3-star guy out of San Diego that nobody knew really. So, and even the guys behind them, and then you've got the 3-headed monster at running back, which I kind of wanted to get to right now really quick. Also, I don't know if Jalen Knighton's going to play. He may be suspended for this game. I'm not sure what's going on. Manny Diaz is not giving anybody any information, but even the guys behind him, Thad Franklin and Cody Brown, are some big bruising backs as well who might be able to get some time. Maybe not in this game. They might just go with the 2 guys with Harris and Chaney. But I think that's another position where, a lot of the pundits are saying, well, maybe Alabama has the upper hand with guys like Brian Robinson and Trey Sanders and a couple of those guys that they have there. Trey Sanders, obviously another 5-star kid out of IMG. I think it's a little more even than most people think at the running back position. Also, maybe you give the edge a little bit to Alabama just because we don't know yet what we're going to get with Don Chaney because he's been hurt a little bit. Cam Harris had a down year last year where he kind of didn't live up to expectations either. So really quick, right? Let's kind of keep it short so we can keep it moving. Running back, who has the edge, Alabama or Miami? Blue, we'll start with you.
I think Alabama does off the bat because they have the advantage up front, so they're going to run the ball. And that's the one thing that I say. And they're deeper than you think because even though the kid Sanders and those guys didn't get a lot of reps, behind one of the best running backs that Alabama's ever had in Harris last year, they're stacked. Miami's good. Miami's really good. But like you said, there's a lot of ifs right now.
Right.
If he plays, if that. I'll tell you what, the Brown kid impresses me. I've watched his high school tape. Then I stood next to him during the summer 3 different times at one of the practices. This kid's got some legs on him. I will tell you. And then I watch him run. Oh my gosh! Then I watch him run. He runs in the 4.4 range. Yeah, he's a freak, and we know Thad Franklin. So if Miami has to, remember you get a little leeway with these athletes. You can play them in some games if you need them, and then if they don't play enough, then you hang them over for another year. So it's I think in that instance, so I think Alabama has an advantage, slight, but it's still.
What do you think, Manny?
Adrian James, Clayton Portis, Willis McGahee, all great backs. Wonderful backs. Absolute wonderful backs. You got to have an all-line, man. Got to have the guys up front. Those 5 up front, to me, are the ones that make it easier for the one player in the back who's running the football. And I have to go with Alabama, which then now comes to my other thing. What's Alabama going to do on offense? Are they going to just establish? Are they going to try to establish the running game to help out that young quarterback that has no experience? Right? Are they going to have success? Once they have success, the play action's coming. You know that those wide receivers that Bama has, they're just at one point they're going to get open. Right? I mean, it is what it is. It's an offensive game now. Again, though, it's about if your offensive line can sustain it for 60 minutes. And Miami to me has a shot, but they have to make sure they convert third downs. And King cannot do it on his own. Okay. A couple of years ago, when Francois, when it was Florida State against Alabama, Florida State could not run the football. Okay. The first 3-4 drives, 3 and outs. All of a sudden, Florida State started moving the football because of Francois throwing and running. What happens? Gets knocked out of the game. This is where Miami has to play it very safe to the chest and realize that they cannot win this game playing one-dimensional against an SEC powerhouse. And I hope, they're going to have to figure out a way, man. 3rd and 5, I'll take it. You have to convert 5 yards. 3rd and 1, you got to convert first down. You can't just go 3 and out, right? So, again, the offensive line, I guess, on both sides, it's going to be, which one can contain the other. But again, with the depth, like Blue said, man, Alabama can just roll out you with 6 offensive linemen at one point. Just be like, hey, can you stop us for 60 minutes?
I think the biggest thing here, we'll move on to the wide receivers, is I don't think that is necessarily a knock on the offensive line from Miami. I just think that it's a praise even more on the offensive line of Alabama and the defensive line of Alabama, because the defensive line of Alabama is one of the best in the country right now. So you've got the LeBron Ray and Phil Mathis, and you've got all these big dudes on that line that can really play. And then their linebackers are just absolutely disgusting too, with Will Anderson and Christian Harris and whoever else and Moody and the rest. So you've got some ballers there. So for me, it's about the offense, like you guys said, the offensive line. I think that if Miami, with their offensive line, because it's a good offensive line, at least we feel that way, right? It's a good offensive line. They're back. Rivers and Donaldson is back, and Zion Nelson, potential first rounder. I think against any other team, you're talking about, I think Miami can have a chance to dominate the offensive line because they're big, they're strong, they're physical up front. But now you're talking about playing Alabama's front 7. Yeah. So that's a different story. So I get that. Real quick. 5 words on wide receivers. I personally think, I know they've got Mechie, and they've got these other kids, but I like Miami's wide receivers this year. I truly like Rambo, Harley Smith, Restrepo, and even Michael Redding. I think Michael Redding is going to have a huge say in how good this wide receiver corps is as well. Really quick, who do you think? What wide receiver corps do you think is better, Manny?
Well, I think when you have a guy like King as quarterback and he's going to place the ball where it's going to need to be, you need to be able to catch it, right? So I think that makes your job as a wide receiver much more easier. Again, I'm going to go with experience, and I'm going to go with the Canes. But again, Bama might just need a half to get things rolling, and then all of a sudden things start to click. Right? It's just that's the one thing, and it's going to be so clear though, guys, where Miami is on all phases of their team once they play Alabama and once they play Clemson, right?
Yeah, because that's the measuring stick.
Miami is playing those 2 teams that we know that they kind of resemble each other, that they have 5 stars, they're loaded up and down the board. The depth just is unbelievable. And you're like, how in the hell do they have 2 5 stars behind every position? Like, what the hell is this? Yeah? Like, they don't need to go the freaking, the whole route of, finding guys that are finding homes. Like these two teams or these 2 schools just have that leverage of being able to say, hey, guys, let's go get in there. And it's a 5-star guy that everybody in the country wanted, but he chose to go where he felt like he was going to win, and who wouldn't want to be there, right? But again, I'm going to go with the quarterback and King because I have more confidence in him being able to get the ball down the field where it needs to be. Now, what was the issue last year for Miami a lot? Especially from a Gator fan and an outside fan's perspective. Too many drops. Third downs were not there when King needed it. and you're going to have to
different wide receivers. Different wide receivers this year. You're not going to see. Yeah. I don't think you're going to see much of Pope and Wiggins. So that I think that has kind of corrected itself. Really quick, Blue. Bama or Canes receivers?
Miami, and for the reasons that Manny said, but not only that, it's and then the kids that you mentioned. Remember, they lost some big time kids. I mean, we feel it here with the Dolphins as being one of them. Yeah. But that being said, the young kid Hall out of Bloomingdale, Florida, another kid that could get into that mix for them. They always have guys, you know. I mean, they on offense, and I just, you know, yeah, I think I'll give Miami that advantage right there, definitely.
I think we can all agree offensive line goes to Bama. Tight ends, I think that we could all agree goes to Miami with Will Mallory over, you know, I know Latu or whatever his name is their starting tight end right now.
Yeah.
And Billingsley is a good ball player, but I think with Will Mallory, I think that you know, having that guy, I think he's a potential.
But even he has to prove himself.
He does.
I think because he didn't get enough. Well, they didn't target him enough last year, and some of his best plays have been called back. When you think about it, the 2 to the end zone the last year. So yeah, I want to see him get 65 catches. I'm sorry,
I think that in order for that offense to be potent and to score a lot, he's gonna need to be a focal point at times, if not most of the time, because I think he could be that good.
He could be another. Well, you know, funny to say, but he could be another Gesicki. Really, when you think about it, they're both tall. They both run. Remember, Gesicki coming out of Penn State was a volleyball player first,
right?
And so I mean, I see big things for him. I see big things from the young man from Texas, because I watched him. I mean, I think he's going to be he's going to be real. He's going to be special, and they still got dudes, and so I think definitely Miami gets the nod there.
I think we could all agree the defensive line goes to Bama as well, right? Size and strength.
I mean, Jazz, even if they don't have experience, it's just a depth, man.
Yeah, Miami doesn't have. Doesn't have anybody after.
Blue, Alabama and Clemson can rotate 4 guys and have another 5-star lineup. It's ridiculous.
And what kid outside of maybe one returns as a true defensive end? Remember, McLeod wasn't a DN last year. He's a linebacker.
Although I think he's going to be better than people think with his on the ground.
Yeah, he's got he's got experience, and he's going to outthink a lot of people too. This is like his 6th year.
Yeah,
I'm saying is that I think he got a 6th year.
It is a 6th year.
I'm not being facetious, you know. Say what is this? 6th year?
He's like 32.
Yeah, he's collecting Social Security.
Linebackers obviously goes to Alabama as well. I mean, they've got it's too nasty there with what they have with Anderson and Harris and all the other guys that they have there. I think the one that's intriguing to me is because for me is the defensive backs, and I'll kind of group them all together, including striker, safety, cornerback. I really think that. You know, and a lot of people say that Miami has the edge at that position as well. I think, Alabama, they got Josh Jobe coming back, who, you know, is very good. And they've got Battle, and they've got Branch, and they've got, some really good players there. But I really still think that Miami has a little bit of an edge at the defensive back position.
I'll be honest with you. The way I think is Alabama has the talent edge. Miami has the depth edge, I think.
Right. See, that's the one place that Miami does have the depth.
Yeah,
right?
Miami's deeper at defensive back, but I think for the guys that you mentioned, Battle's a beast. Jobe, I mean, he's a freak of nature. And then they got 3 other kids that can really play. Yeah, I think they have the talent level, but Miami has some kids who played. You know, Alabama doesn't have those kids under them that have played as significant, minutes as, now you got to remember, you got a guy from Georgia who played a lot of SEC significant minutes.
That's
so
huge.
So that kind of pegs things. But to answer your question, I know it doesn't answer it fully, but I think that Miami has a depth edge. I think Alabama has some really good guys, really good guys.
Oh yeah. And last but not least, we already know we got the best kicker and the best punter in the nation. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's not even a question. We got the best punter in the nation.
their guy finished second to Borregales last year for the Gross.
He sucks. His brother's better than him. I saw his brother hit a 73-yarder in practice. I kid you not. 73-yarder. He can kick.
Practice.
Okay. Anyways, all right. So let's get back to the meat and potatoes. What Manny really came on here for, because Manny's like, all right, guys, get it going. Moving along. Here we go. Now, look, we'll start off with this first, because I think that it's actually a really big game for both teams. And we're talking about the Florida Gators against Florida Atlantic University. Really quick, before we get to the Gators, I think this is going to be huge because the former Cane is now QB1 for FAU Owls, and that's N'Kosi Perry has gotten the starting nod. Kudos to him. Listen, not a bad quarterback at all. Athletic guy, can throw, has a good arm. I think he went to the right place, got the right opportunity, beat out whoever else was there. He's got, some good coaching, right? With Willie Taggart is there. I think that he's in the right system for him to be successful. So kudos to N'Kosi Perry being able to transfer out and be QB1, unlike the other guy.
With a degree.
Unlike the other guy who lost the quarterback battle at USF. We won't name him.
So he's a win-win situation, N'Kosi, because he's got a really, really prestigious degree from the U, and now he gets to play some ball and not have to worry, because I'm sure he can plug himself into a job if football doesn't carry him far. So
oh yeah. But nevertheless, right, Manny, a big moment right now for Emory Jones. At quarterback, man. I look, and it's nothing against him, but you go from Kyle Trask, who's a Heisman hopeful, almost that kind of guy, to now Emory Jones, who's a completely different quarterback than Kyle Trask was, and he's got a different skill set. He's a very talented guy, but he's got some guys around him that have changed also. You're right, no more Kyle Pitts. That's going to be different. Some of the wideouts, I think.
No more Tony.
Yeah, no more Kadarius Toney. I think Cleveland, right? Cleveland was another guy that Kyle Trask had.
No more Grimes.
No more Grimes. I mean, so he's got some other guys there that are going to be different. But at the same time, he's been practicing with those guys, I'm sure, right? In the second team. He has. So talk to me a little bit about that team, the Florida Gators, what you can expect from them, not only against FAU, but kind of going forward this season. How do you feel about the team?
Well, I guess when we, let's just start off with offense. I feel confident because in whatever quarterback Dan Mullen has had, he's been able to do things with from the first moment he was on campus. So I'm not going to go all paranoid when it comes to the offense. Yes, it hurts to lose Pitts, hurts to lose Tony, hurts to lose Kyle Trask. But again, that the talent is going to be there. What I have seen and heard a lot during practices is that Emory has been taking first team reps, and then towards the end of practice, Anthony Richardson ends up taking the rest of the reps with the ones, because I guess what they really want to do is kind of involve this 2 quarterback system. Not saying that Emory Jones cannot play the whole game, but of course, when you have another quarterback that can run as fast, they can do little gadgets here and there, that can throw off a high motor defense, I guess. Those are things that, again, if you have it in your offense, it's like another arsenal. But the one key side of the ball I'm going to be looking at is, once again, man, our boy Todd Grantham. I really need to see.
He's back for more, baby. He's back for more.
I really need to see some type of improvement. I know in the secondary we're going to be very young. We're starting both Miami boys, so that's going to be very right there. But again, we do have talent up front. But again, linebackers, they're good, they're decent, they're not great. So right there off the bat, again, FAU, I don't think it will be an issue. UCF, I don't think it will be an issue. Alabama,
you just lost a linebacker to the transfer portal, right? Andrew Chatfield.
He's gone. I mean,
American Heritage guy.
Yeah.
So, but again, like, Dan Mullen trusts his boy to stay, and I guess we just have to be able to just but just take Dan for his word that, listen, there were certain things wrong. He felt that the certain position coaches were wrong. We have a new secondary coach, new linebacking coach. So apparently he thought those were the key things that were wrong. But again, I can see where COVID is an issue, but the whole country that played college football had an issue. So you can't tell me that it was because of COVID where things could not be, I am sorry. When you throw a shoe, again, this is the last time.
Hey, leave him alone.
By the way, he is balling with Arizona.
Yeah,
where the hell was that here? Where the hell was that here, by the way?
Todd Grantham, baby. Todd Grantham.
Damn it. When you throw a shoe that costs your team, you have to bounce back. You can't
that's just discipline. That's just discipline. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
Which Florida absolutely did not have any. So again, it's the Emory Jones show. I still think that the majority of the offense will run through him. But again, one of the things that the Gator offense did not establish at all last season, running the football. Of course, when you have Tony and Pitts and Trask and the way that they evolve so quickly, so fast, so great, you really didn't have to rely on that because you can rely on Kyle Trask throwing it 40 to 50 times. I have news for you. I don't want to see Emory Jones throwing the football 40 to 50 times.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win that way.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to win many games with him throwing 40 to 50. If he's throwing 40 to 50 times a game, it's because you're down by multiple touchdowns in the second half or even in the fourth quarter.
They can run, though. They can run the ball. They got dudes.
Yes, sir, Blue. And this is my thing. You now have a couple of running backs,
Lorenzo Lingard.
Nah. Naquan Wright from Carroll City.
No.
Malik Davis, Damian Pierce.
Pierce back. You got all these other guys.
Lingard was a joke, guys.
And Malik Davis and Naquan Wright, who is the next Duke Johnson, because this guy can catch 100 balls at the NFL level. You watch him against.
And they also have the 5-star running back that transferred from Clemson or whatever the case was.
So they
have plenty of backs, but again, if I remember correctly, you lost about 2 or 3 key guys on the offensive line as well. So the same questions that both you guys have when it comes to the Canes all line. To me, listen, when you're in the SEC, you don't have time to test, right? You have to go out there and get thrown into the fire immediately. And this is when I found out that Texas and Oklahoma could be joining in. If that happens, there is no room for error. There's already no room for error right now. But with Texas and Oklahoma getting themselves in the SEC, I mean, now you really have to make sure you have, these boys ready to go because obviously there's no preseason. Again, there's no preseason in college football. And for a division to have so many at the top of those powerhouses, everybody's going to be going after the same boys, man. It's going to be such an hectic, crazy offseason once this season ends. But again, back to this. Emory Jones succeeds if running the football succeeds. If you cannot run the football for an average at least 4 to 5 yards against the big boys, and I'm not talking about FAU, UCF, or whatever the case is. I'm not even talking about South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Thankfully, those guys are in our division and we could win towards the end. But it's about the big boys. And again, when you play Alabama week 3, you've had 2 weeks to kind of steer your way, seeing which side you need to work on better, what things you need to improve on. I think Emory Jones succeeds by the Florida Gators running the football at a successful clip. You don't run the football, it's going to be very tough. You might win the SEC East, but I know Georgia's looking at us and saying, listen, you kind of humiliated us last year, okay? And I know Kirby Smart has already that game circled, and that rivalry is always going to be top-notch. But if you do not improve running the ball these 2 upcoming weeks before you play Alabama, man, I hate to say it, man, we could have 107,000 at the Swamp. We're going to get run over by Nick Saban. So that's my thing.
I'll tell you what, you talk about the Gators on the offensive line too. You said there's a lot of young guys, but there's some pretty good guys that I watch, and a lot of the kids from down here. Richard Garage, I think, is one of the guys at the left tackle spot that's going to be a key. And the other kid, when you look at all the guys that have it, like Michael Tarquin, who was committed to Miami at one point from North Marion High School up in up North Florida. I mean, there's a guy that Miami had, and he probably would have been plugged in right now at a right tackle spot. And then you have Joshua Braun, who the Gators at 6'7", 270, 280. Yeah, you know what? I think that this team, everybody suffers loss, and you lost this amazing guy in Pitts that, could be a generational guy. We may never see somebody like that, for a long, long time. But you have guys, and that's what I'm saying. You still have tight ends. I love the kid Keon Zipper, the kid from Lakeland. I think he's a pretty good guy. And then you got the guy from right down here, Kenmore Gamble from Gables High School. So I think Gators okay. When I went up there, guys, that was the one thing that really won me over when I went in the locker room and I was looking at the names of all the players on their placards, and I'm going, oh wow, I forgot that Amari Burney was still here. Or I forgot that Chris Bogle from Cardinal Gibbons is going to be a a stud. So they got guys, and that's the one real telltale sign. And Miami used to have that back in the early 2000s and in the 80s as well, is that when you went to their spring game and you saw all the players with their names on the back of their uniforms, and you go, oh, man, that kid was a 5-star. So that Florida's in really good hands.
Yeah, they always do well in recruiting anyways. I think that they will still be very competitive in the SEC, and I think that their side is going to be up for grabs this year. I don't think that that they by any imagination they're not out of it at all. I think they're going to be very competitive, and I think that they have a shot of winning the SEC East that they're in.
Yeah,
the SEC East, right? I think
Georgia's always going to be a thorn, though.
Yeah, it's Georgia and Florida. I think maybe LSU is LSU in the East or the West?
In the West.
They're in the West.
Wild West.
If Oklahoma, Texas do come in, I believe
they'll push Vanderbilt into the East.
They'll push Vanderbilt's already in the East.
No, not Vanderbilt. I meant they're going to take somebody like Missouri and put them in.
Put them in the East, and then they're going to put Texas and Oklahoma out west. So you'll have Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, and both Mississippis. Jesus.
Alabama, Georgia, and guys, Georgia and Alabama in a 12-team, playoff system. Georgia, Alabama every year, and then you'll get 2 others. It'll be Oklahoma, and then pick your another one. And that's it. You're going to get 4 teams from that conference.
Unbelievable. They have to stretch it out to 12 games.
If I did my math correctly, if an incoming freshman joins an SEC team next season and they stayed all 4 years of school, they would have visited every single SEC away stadium.
I'll tell you what, we need a mathematician like you. I'll tell you that, man.
No. That's just a start.
All right. So final score of that game of UF FAU. What do you got, man?
I got Florida 37, FAU 21.
What do you got, Blue?
47-14.
47-14. I think UF scores.
Oh, I got to relax after the second quarter. Let's go.
I think they score in the 40s too. I got 41-20 Florida as well.
By the way, did we give our Miami scores yet?
No, I think we'll leave that for the end.
Okay, cool.
We'll leave that for the end. Let's move real quick because this one, I don't know. Yeah, real quick. Right? We say real quick every time, but it's a Sunday night game, right? It's a Sunday night game of Florida State and Notre Dame. I don't know if there's much to say in the regards of competitiveness. I think that this is going to be a little one-sided, just like a Florida FAU as well. I think Notre Dame is just way too good right now. FSU has got a lot of growing up to do, a lot of development to do. I think Norvell, what he's got there, he's got to work with it. Listen, some talented guys. They've got some talented players. They've obviously got Mackenzie Milton, who transferred in, won the quarterback spot. They've got some guys. They've got some dudes at running back as well that can play a little bit. I think the biggest question mark is going to be their guys up front. The offensive line struggled mightily last year. That's what worries me about keeping Mackenzie Milton upright because of his devastating injury before. They got to keep him upright. If he's upright, he can make some plays with his legs and with his arm. I like Mackenzie Milton a lot. The flying Hawaiian, as they say, aside from Tua. Very talented player. FSU's always got some guys. They've got on the other side of the ball, they've got Amari Gaynor. They've got a couple of guys that can still play there. Okay, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's enough. Notre Dame is just way too talented this year. Also, they've got a new quarterback, so that's going to be tough. Which is the transfer from Wisconsin. What's his name? Cohn, right? Jack Cohn, I think, is the starting quarterback for Notre Dame this year. Who's the transfer out of Wisconsin. So that's going to be interesting to see. He's a little bit of a different player than Ian Book was. So I think that just all around from a talent perspective, Blue, maybe you can kind of shed some light on this. From both sides, FSU and Notre Dame. How do you feel about this game? How do you think this game kind of lines up as far as talent is concerned?
Well, I think the one thing is the FSU approach this year just trying to improve on last year, trying to, they got a lot of transfers and a lot of that portal was really busy in Tallahassee. The portal keeper was really extremely busy. So that helped them. Now you got to get a little chemistry going with these new guys. And
Jermaine Johnson, right? Jermaine Johnson's there too.
Yeah. Well, not only Jermaine, but they had the Kier Thomas, who defensive tackle at South Carolina, used to be at Miami Central. Yeah, they got a lot of kids go in, and good for them. You know, they work really hard. I just think that you know, as you said, experience wise, they're looking to get, you know, just have maybe get a 6-7 win season would be really, really good for them. Notre Dame is on the other hand. They want to be one of the top teams in the country. And they feel that they could do it because they pretty much have the roster coming back. You mentioned new quarterback. There's always going to be new something. But they worked extremely hard. They're a sound football team. They're big up front. Defensively, they're really, really strong. Got 3 really good linebackers. 2 of them could probably be top 3 or 4 round draft picks in the NFL. And then they got a secondary that's got a lot of speed. That's the one thing about Kelly. They've recruited a lot of speed over the last 5-6 years, and it's showing up. And you can see they're playing some of these teams a lot better. And then obviously they meet the real good teams and they get crushed. But you know, they're going to be tough to beat. FSU, maybe in 2 years, this game we're playing, it'll be different. But right now, I just think Notre Dame is going to win this game.
Yeah, Manny. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think Blue, we saw how attention to detail Coach Norvell was when we saw him down here at the FIU camps. I mean, he had staff all over the field. And I think those are the signs of him just trying to really break down on the type of player he wants coming in. What is it that they could bring and how quickly can they start? And that's one of the things that I noticed right away, between, because the camp started like at 4, he was like one of the first coaches there. And then as soon as the whole camp started, his assistants started rolling in and things like that. And he had about 5, 6, 7 deep. And from there, they're going to go to Gainesville. So I already knew that in their minds, they're there to see everybody, absolutely everybody. And that goes to show you that maybe, what Florida State really needed last year, unfortunately, was a clean out type of service. But of course, with COVID happening, can you just imagine a new coach coming in and them having to all of a sudden stop off-season workouts, not being able to actually talk to players face-to-face, not to mention the issue that happened with Marvin Wilson and this whole thing that happened that he might have lost the locker room for a month or two. And of course, nobody knew the status of Florida State football. Let's be honest here. It's like it really came out as it was the players versus the coach. So apparently, listen, that happened. It got cleared up. But then COVID hits and it's like, well, how can you actually, learn this playbook, besides looking at a Zoom? To me personally, I worked through a Zoom and I hated it because I couldn't really express myself physically. I had to tell myself through a screen what I wanted to do, and then I had to tell you how to do things. And it's like that doesn't work in a sport. I'm so sorry. And again, though last year I saw flashes, but yet you saw too many penalties, stupid penalties, players thinking that they were better than the other. But again, those are not his guys. So I knew that the main goal for Florida State this offseason was to go out there, hit the recruiting trail as hard as they could, because they couldn't do that last season, and try to get as many players on the wire and on the transfer line and just getting guys that they feel comfortable, because they had a pretty good recruiting class his first time around, because when he brought in, I think a week later, that's when the class opened, and so he had to scramble right away because Willie just hit the road, and that was the end of it. But I guess for this year, I'm so with you, Blue. Florida State shouldn't be thinking about winning games as much as they should be thinking about we should be building for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. Because again, this is not just going to happen in 1 year. Okay, so again, it's ACC. You have Miami again on the schedule. You're going to play Clemson. I've seen it against NC State. It's hard. Virginia Tech is hard. So again, Florida State's mindset, if you're a fan going to the season, is that you want to see improvement when it comes to just the status of the football team, not just a win or loss record.
What do you got? What do you got as far as score for this game, Blue?
44-22, Notre Dame.
44. Damn. You know what? I'm gonna go with 41-17. 41-17. To me, again, I think the main thing of knowing that you're playing on Sunday night, you're the only game live and it's prime time and it's college football, and it's fans coming back at full capacity. I mean, let's be honest, last year there was no such thing. Now the fans can show up and they can be there for all 60 minutes. So at some point that's going to run out though for Florida State, I think. And I think eventually Notre Dame and Chip Kelly just runs their offense like they always do.
Notre Dame's defense is really, really good. But Mackenzie Milton can play, man. So I can see him putting up, 17, 24 points, maybe early. But at the end of the day, I think Notre Dame just takes it. So I'll go 41-24 Notre Dame. Because I think that Mackenzie Milton can put up some points early, but I think Notre Dame just blows them out in the second half. So that's what I got. Some other really good games. Some other really good games are out there. Even starting tomorrow, man. You've got Boise State and UCF. UCF with Dylan Gabriel, very good. Boise State still a solid team. That's another big, nice game on a Thursday night. Ohio State actually starts their season tomorrow against Minnesota. We all know how good Ohio State is. C.J. Stroud is their starting quarterback. They named him the starting quarterback. But P.J. Fleck's got a hell of a team over there in Minnesota. He always puts together a really solid program. So, we won't really go too much into that. But I think at the end of the day, we all can agree Ohio State might be one of the best teams in the country this year again. So
definitely,
but that's because the Big Ten always sucks. Like, come on, Michigan. Come on, Harbaugh. Jesus Christ, do something.
Look, man, look. Ohio, that's the same thing they said about them last year, and Ohio State, destroyed Clemson in the playoffs. So I think that, they can still play some really good ball.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about those games?
I think Ohio State wins 35-14. I think they're that good. They're really good. It's a train. It keeps rolling. Remember that thought.
So let's talk. Yeah, there he is. Another game that I think is interesting to watch is the it's a Friday night matchup. I think this one might be a trap game for North Carolina, number 10 in the country. Look, I'm not as high on North Carolina this year as some people are. I get it, Sam Howell, and they do have this wide receiver, this kid. I can't for the life of me remember his name now. Who's a very good wide receiver as well. But they lost a lot of guys. I think it's a trap game for for North Carolina against Virginia Tech on Friday night on ESPN. It's a 6 p.m. start. Really good game, I think. And I think that Virginia Tech can keep it close. I don't know if they can beat them, but I think they can keep them close. I think it's a trap game for North Carolina. I got North Carolina winning 30-21, but I still think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, North Carolina can do what they want to do in a game like that. I know what you're saying, but kind of trap game would be your opening game. I mean, I don't know. They've been looking forward to this game for a long time, so they want to get out because there's a lot of detractors that say, well, you lost two really good backs, but they don't know that the two backs that came in are really, really good too, and probably more highly rated than the guys that just left. Evans is really nice out of Navarre, but these two guys are good. I think they do what they want. 37-13.
Manny, what do you got? What's the score?
I'm gonna go with the Jordan brand. I'm gonna go 34-21.
All right, so let's break. All right, 34-21. Let's break down Saturday's matchups. A lot of big matchups there. First one, Penn State and Wisconsin. Number 19, Penn State. Number 12, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a very good team. Penn State is always very competitive. James Franklin has that team kind of going. I still think that Wisconsin pulls it out in a close game, though. I'm going to go Big Ten football right here at its finest. I'm going to go 24-20 Wisconsin.
All right, 27-24 Wisconsin.
I'm gonna go with Ron Dane and Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, we'll wake you from your amnesia.
There you go.
What score do you have? What's your score on that one?
I would say 28-24.
28-24.
You and Jazz have the same 4 points.
Thanks. Another nice game in the Big Ten. Indiana, Iowa. Number 17 Indiana against number 18 Iowa. Michael Penix back for more over there at Indiana. Iowa's got some really good ball players as well. Always big physical team as well. Indiana and Iowa. Man, I don't know if everybody kind of was too high on Indiana last year, especially when Michael Penix went down. So I think Indiana. I think I said Indiana, but I'm going to go Iowa on this one. Really close game. Also, I'm going to go Iowa 27 and Indiana 23.
Good pick. As they said, not so fast. I will tell you this: Indiana will be the second best team in the Big Ten. You heard that. Wow. 32 kids from the state of Florida. Coach Allen, as Manny will say, remember he came to the FIU camp, and one of the nicest guys. A guy works. Yeah, they're recruiting really well down here in South Florida too. Yeah, I think they win. Iowa, I like Iowa. What's not to like? They've always been. Ferentz was always a great coach. He's always keeping them guys. You never think that. How about that? The state of Iowa has 2 top 20 teams, Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa State's a pretty good football program too. Yeah, I think Indiana wins that maybe by 8 or 9, maybe 29-21 or something.
Nice. Okay.
If what do you got, this was Manny? Basketball, I'd be going with the Hoosiers, but I'm going to go with the Hawkeye this time, 21-17.
21-17. Nice. Another big game in the slate on Saturday is another top 25 matchup with Louisiana and Texas. Upset alert right here for Texas against Louisiana.
Yeah.
I don't know if God, who's the head coach? Sarkisian, right? Yeah, Steve Sarkisian is over at Texas if he can get the ball rolling. But he does have one of the best running backs in the country in Bijan Robinson. Really like what he's doing over there at Texas. I've always liked Texas. I've always had kind of a soft spot for them. So is it an upset alert? Absolutely, but I'm still going to go with Texas. I think they're going to score some points with Sarkisian running that offense. I'm going to give them the nod. I'm going to go 31-20 Texas.
Tough week for LSU, obviously, man, with the hurricane going right through their city.
Oh, yeah.
So in Baton Rouge. So that's, are they playing? Are they really playing the game? Because
it's at Texas. It's at Texas Memorial.
No, so. I know, but I mean, they hadn't practiced, and unless they went out to Texas to practice.
Good question.
But I think it's an emotional game. I think Texas wins this, but Texas is not going to be winning very many. I can tell you. I don't think they're a great team. They're an okay team, but I think they win this just because LSU right now has their heads down. I think.
Well, this is Louisiana, not LSU. Remember, it's the Raging Cajuns.
Oh, Raging! I'm sorry, I thought you said LSU.
Oh
no! Oh well, never mind. I thought you said LSU. That's why I said Baton Rouge. All right, Texas, obvious. Well, Texas will win this game. Yeah, they'll roll to this game. I thought you said LSU.
What score do you have, Blue, on that?
37-30.
37-30?
As
13.
13. Okay. Manny, what do you got?
As Matthew McConaughey says, hook 'em, baby. 38-10.
There you go.
And then, of course, what some consider the biggest matchup of the weekend is a top 5 matchup between number 5 Georgia and number 3 Clemson. The Clemson
Tigers.
Yeah, buddy. They go into Bank of America Stadium to face the Georgia Bulldogs. Kirby Smart in the bunch there. Listen, JT Daniels, Zamir White. That defense,
great defense,
great defense,
tremendous secondary.
Okay, I like Georgia, but it's hard to go against Clemson with DJ Uiagalelei, and I don't even know who their running back is right now, to be honest with you. But I know they get Justin Ross back, which is nice. That's right. And their defense again with Breesy in the middle, Murphy as well. They got a hell of a defense. Scousey is coming back for his 17th year as well. So I hate to go against. It's 15th year. I hate to go against Clemson, but I might give the slight edge to Georgia. I think this is going to be one hell of a game. They're going to score a lot of points, I think, on both sides. I'm going to go 35-31 Georgia.
All right. I say 31-24 Georgia.
31-24 Georgia. What do you got, Manny?
I'm going to go with Clemson 27, Georgia 24. Georgia misses a field goal.
We lost Manny there, but I think he took Clemson, right? You took Clemson, Manny? Yeah.
Manny.
I think he took Clemson.
Okay.
All right, and then and finally, but not least, no, Alabama, number 1 Alabama against the Miami Hurricanes, number 14 Miami Hurricanes. What do you got, Blue?
Well, I've maintained it all along. I just don't see anything changing with Alabama that hasn't changed for much of the past 2 decades. They've been a dominant team on both sides of the ball. They're fast, they're strong. Logic, just breaking it down for the last 8 weeks, watching both sides, watching everybody that's going to participate, watch their film, watch everything that they did. And just, you know what, I would love to apologize to the Hurricanes on Sunday. I would love to apologize. I just don't think that this is going to be much of a game. I just think Alabama has been waiting for a game that they could just say, hey, you know what? They could solidify who they are. I think they get off to a fast start, and Miami, does a little mop up, and I think it's 44-20.
Gotcha. I know that the reception is really bad, but I think Miami keeps it close. I think they keep it close until the end, but I think Alabama might pull it off towards the end of the game. My heart says Miami, 35-33, real close by a field goal. I think they kick a field goal at the end. Well, let's do 34-31. They kick a field goal at the end, but my gut and my reality has